Recording started, and I think we're live.
All right, so welcome everybody to the August webinar. This is actually a good topic we're going to be discussing today on soft skills. We're actually combining two presentations into one, so it's a lot of slides, Chris. It's like 20 slides. But we are going to be discussing how to develop soft skills as a clinical researcher, and we're also going to talk about analyzing the appropriate PI and CRC workload, really from the perspective of a CRA, because that's kind of what matters, whether you are a CRA sponsor or even a site. Vigilant CRA, we're going to get into it. I don't want to give it away right now. You guys have to be patient and wait till we get to that slide. But how are you doing, Chris?
Doing well. I don't have to share my screen, right? Everybody can see the webinar?
Yeah, I think they could see it. If it's a webinar, they'll see the slides. So yeah, Chris is on Chris is on the webinar, so if you have questions, just type it in to the chat box. If you are on phone, you obviously can't see anything, but you will get the slides or the replay sent to you. And with that being said, I think we can get into the slides. What do you think about this topic, Chris?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. When we covered it the other day, I wasn't familiar with soft skills or that expression, but yeah, perfectly makes sense.
What do you think about that expression now?
I mean, again, I took a guess at what it meant and just happened to get lucky and get it right, but I think it's kind of self-explanatory, I think.
Right. So that's the first slide, is how to develop soft skills. And let's get into slide 2. I mean, slide 2 is really where we kind of define what the soft skills are. And so soft skills involve the use, basically anything with communicating and interpersonal relationships with, with other people. So it doesn't just apply to research. I mean, this is a human thing. It applies to every business, every industry, every interperson interaction, whether it's in business or in your life. Soft skills are important. So very, very, very uncommon for one of our webinars to maybe even help you in your life, which is what this one is going to do.
Be a life guru.
Like your real life. Yeah, I could be a life coach. We can be life coaches now after this. So, but it is going to get very technical with research soon. But right now we need to address this. So whether you're a CRA, whether you're a coordinator, whether you're a PI, from the context of clinical research, we all need soft skills. Whether you're a CRA and you need to convince your site that they need to follow the protocol a certain way or do things a certain way that you prefer, whether you're a coordinator and you need to convince your PI that you have too much work, too much of a workload, or you need to convince your CRA that you're actually right, or if you're a PI or a site director and you need to convince your employees that this is in their best interest to do things the way you want them done. These are all soft skills. This is all extremely important to have. It's EQ, emotional intelligence, over IQ. And so let us know, guys and gals, in the chat box, any questions so far. Has anyone commented yet?
Well, I have it on full screen, so I have to exit probably to see comments. And nobody's commented.
Okay, so let's go to slide 3. Never split the difference. A fantastic book, probably one of the best books I've read in the last 5 years, is this book, Never Split the Difference, written by Chris Voss, V-O-S-S. Negotiating as if your life depended on it. There are so many things in here. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator, field-tested tools for talking to anyone into or out of just about anything. I mean, talk about selling a book. Like, this is And I've read the book numerous times, and I'm going to make it a habit to go through it once a year. It's that important. Because some of the things, like, you'll forget when you read a book. You got to actually put these things into practice.
And you've done that, right? You've actually put what you read in this book into practice.
Yeah, not as often as I should, but I have. I have played around with the tools and the tactics, and they do work. One of them is tactical empathy. It's one of the major concepts in this book. It's really understanding the other person's mindsets, feelings, and motivations. And it's not just understanding it, it's demonstrating to them that you understand it. And a lot of it involves mirroring, which we're going to get to on the next slide. Actually, we go to the next slide, slide 4. You get to the 2 magic words, Chris. When you're negotiating, the 2 magic words. So it's a fallacy. Chris Voss says this in the book. It's a fallacy to believe that just because someone says yes during a negotiation, that they believe that they agree with you. They could just be saying yes to stop talking to you, and they could be the opposite of agreeing with you. They can say, this guy, I dislike him and disagree with him so much, I'm just going to say yes to get him to stop talking. Okay, so a lot of people think that they won the negotiation when they hear the other person say yes. In reality, what you want them to get to say is, that's right. Those 2 words. That's right. Because now they're agreeing with you. It's not just saying yes, it's saying that's right. And they actually feel like they bought into it by saying that's right. Because in a way, they're feeling like it's their idea, right? So that's really where you want to get them to, is showing them how your idea is actually their best interest as well. And one of the ways to achieve this goal is to mirror what the other person is saying. You don't want to mirror too much to be like a parrot. I mean, this is why you need to practice these things. It's a fine line between parroting somebody else and mirroring, okay? So mirroring involves repeating some of the information that the other person is saying about their current situation, particularly the emotional stuff, because most decisions by people are made emotionally first, and then they'll rationalize why they came up with that decision. They'll rationalize their emotions after. And you want to mirror their emotions because that's true tactical empathy. Whatever they're saying about their current situation, you want to eventually get to the point of, that's right. So if you're a CRA, as an example, if you're a CRA and your site is not entering their data, all right, you can go talk to whomever's in charge of the site, and using mirroring, hey, I understand that, or tactical empathy, I understand that how difficult it must be to be a coordinator. Hopefully you've done it yourself, or if you haven't, just say, I've worked with a lot of coordinators. I understand how this is. I understand how you may be feeling overwhelmed. I mean, try to really mirror their emotions if you can. That's why you have to be a really good listener for this to work. And then you want to get them to say that's right. So when you say, so they're going to be saying that's right. If you're saying, hey, I know it must be very overwhelming to be a CRC, they're going to say that's right. So now they're agreeing with you. And then you're going to say, look, I mean, I also understand how important it is for sites to get paid, because if they don't get paid, employees ultimately not going to get paid, and somebody's going to be upset. That's right. Well, we got to get this data answered so that you guys can get paid, so that everybody can be happy. I mean, I'm simplifying it. It wouldn't be that easy. But in a nutshell, that's kind of how this tactic works. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes common sense. You get somebody to, I mean, that's true in sales, right? You want to get, and this is kind of sales, with some acting components, but you want to have your audience be agreeable.
Right.
But aside from that, somebody asked, are the slides going to be available after this? You're going to make the slides available to everybody?
So not the slides, but the webinar replay will be. It's a video, so you'll see all the slides.
Okay.
And so, yeah, then, I mean, if you want the slides, I guess you can just screenshot every time we get on a slide. But yeah, we'll send the video replay to everybody. So get the book. Even better than the slide is get the book, Never Split the Difference. You'll understand more, much more. I mean, I need to read the book again. But let's go to slide 5, applying soft skills.
All right.
So it's kind of what I just talked about. Applying tactical empathy and mirroring may sound simple. However, the techniques require a high degree of practice. These techniques can be applied by CRAs, coordinators, or anyone who can benefit. So once I read this book, I'll just share a personal story about me applying tactical empathy and mirroring. I took a flight pre-COVID to Austin, Texas, like as a mini vacation. We had a free airline. I don't remember what it was, but I've never been to Austin and I wanted to go. So I went there, read this book on the plane, and then when we landed, we went to check in our Airbnb and everything. And then we went to walk around Austin, and we went into these little trendy stores where they sell like T-shirts and just little things, like kind of like hipster stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try tactical empathy and mirroring here, try to get a discount. In a place where they don't give discounts, matter of fact, it's like kind of frowned upon to even ask for a discount in these kind of places. I mean, this is not like a swap meet where you can just do that. This is one of these trendy boutiques. So you're not really supposed to do this. It's like an unspoken rule. You don't ask for discounts in these kind of stores. So I said, all right, I'm going to try to apply tactical empathy. So I truly found a couple of shirts that I liked, T-shirts, and but I didn't want to pay full price. So I went to the lady and I said, hey, you guys seem really busy today. Like I was trying to get into her emotions. And I can't remember exactly what I said after that, but it was along the lines of, you have really cool stuff here. I really like a lot of positive things. I like what you guys are selling. The atmosphere here is nice. And then I said, you know what? I really like these shirts. Is there any way you can give me like a discount? And then she kind of looked at me for a while. It was uncomfortable. She looked at me and she said, no, we don't do that here. And then I used mirroring, which is a technique from the book where I basically mirror back what she said in the form of a question. So I said, you don't do that here? And then I paused. And the pause probably was only 10 seconds until she talked, but it felt really awkward when you're waiting. Like this is where you don't want to say anything back. And then she said, well, you know what? We will give you a discount. I'll just say that you're like a street vendor from outside. And so it worked. It worked because I asked, and I think it's because the mirroring worked in this case. I don't know how much the tactical empathy worked, but I was being friendly, and I was trying to see like her situation, but this wasn't like a major negotiation. It was something simple, but it's just these techniques do work, guys. And there's been other times where I have used these things like in a clinical setting as a CRA, kind of like the example I talked about, getting the data entered and then getting paid along those lines. So these are highly transferable skills. I highly recommend everyone read that book and start applying it to your day-to-day. And maybe try mirroring at places you're not supposed to, just to practice.
If you're ever in trouble with the police, don't try it there.
Who knows? It might work there too.
Yeah, maybe. I would be concerned.
Yeah, so try with a little bit less at stake than your life or something.
Yes, please.
So slide 6. Now we're going to get into the technical stuff. Any questions so far? Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. I highly recommend the book.
No questions thus far, other than slides.
How a CRA can assess PI and CRC workload in clinical research. So it's kind of, the topics are related, because so slide 7, okay, Vigilant CRAs. So CRAs should be vigilant in each interaction with their sites. This means that they should learn to gauge PI and coordinator workload. And I mean, what are, we tell our students this all the time, Chris, but what are some ways that, what are some telltale signs that a coordinator or a PI either is overworked and doesn't have enough time for the study, or, yeah, I mean, let's just keep it simple. What is a telltale sign from your experiences that the PI or coordinator are just overworked?
Well, I think it's true in life in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be research, but when people are overworked, they usually get a little more moody. You ask them something, can you do this, and they'll snap back, something like that. They're not nearly they're much more irritable. Typically.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you're dealing with somebody that's just their natural disposition, which is always a possibility.
Right. You do get that sometimes, too. Okay, so many PIs will take on studies but can't dedicate enough time to meet the study requirements, and their coordinators will struggle to keep up because they are, on slide 8 that you'll see,
So
overworked.
So Marjorie has a couple of examples of how you can tell when somebody is overworked. I turn it to chat. Oh, already on chat. She says, not responding to emails properly prior to a site visit, a messy desk or office. Okay, so a messy desk or office isn't necessarily true for everybody. I think if your desk is normally tidy and it becomes very messy, then yes, that could be a sign. But a lot of people just have a messy desk to begin with, regardless of how busy they are.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree. There are other telltale signs too, like coordinator not replying to emails, coordinators.
Marjorie said.
Yeah, coordinator not answering queries, PI just not seeming to understand what their role is. That happens a lot. Or not understanding what their assessments are. You can figure out if you're a Vigilant CRA. So, overworked coordinator, slide 8. Very important. You got this image of this poor lady here being bombarded with different requests. Looks like someone showing her a watch, a phone. You can empathize with this lady, actually, sometimes. So slide 9, how do you determine coordinator workload? Well, I mean, what do you think, Chris? We've done an entire webinar just on this too, but how do we determine coordinator workout? If you're a CRA, let's go from the perspective of a CRA.
Well, again, it's dependent upon prior knowledge of the individual, but if at one point they were very responsive and timely in getting things done and now they're not, I think that would be a very key indicator.
Yep. So basically changes from baseline.
Yep, exactly. Now, oftentimes you'll come onto it as a CRA, you'll come onto a site in which they're just constantly busy. So you really don't have a good baseline on what somebody who's got a workload they can handle versus some workload they can't handle. They just have always had a workload they can't handle. And that could be a number of things that would tell you this, right? Or you have a problem getting action items completed or resolved. That probably is a good indicator.
Yeah, absolutely. So, experienced CRAs can identify coordinators who are overworked fairly simple. Inexperienced ones a little harder. One of the reasons it is hard to tell when a coordinator is overworked is because they tend to be managing many studies at the same time. So sometimes as a CRA, like you see them busy, right? But you're assuming they're just busy on your study, so that's a good thing. But oftentimes they have a lot of studies they're managing at the same time. And kind of difficult to have this conversation if you're a CRA with the PI as far as your coordinator workload, because you're going to get a lot of pushback from them, which is why the soft skills that we discussed earlier is so important. I mean, you got to be careful how you approach certain people about how they're running their business. You don't want hostile PI or hostile coordinator, right? So you want to kind of frame it in a way that you're showing that you're helping them. Slide 10, inadequate source documents.
We've got quite a few comments here. Let me go through them.
Wow, people like this stuff.
Gets confused and keep things straight, and can't keep things straight, I think. And can't keep things straight. Inadvertently talking about another study with you instead of the CRA study. So yeah, that would be a good indication. You're there for a diabetes study, and they're talking to you about a depression study.
Yeah, so if you're a coordinator, stop talking to your other monitors about other studies.
Yeah. Managing too many studies simultaneously is overworked. Is that a question we can ask a coordinator? Sure. Why couldn't you ask your coordinator that?
Yeah, tactical empathy. Yeah, let's take a page out of that book. I mean, I understand how it is to be a coordinator. Hopefully you do. If not, you can use examples of other coordinators you've monitored and start getting into their emotions, and they might tell you without you having to ask.
Yep, absolutely.
Slide 10, inadequate source documentation is another dead giveaway. Okay. One of the many signs of an overworked coordinator is their patient charts are incomplete. This is really bad here. You're in direct violation of ALCOAC. Okay, source will have errors, missing pages, pages will be misfiled. You see this all the time? If you want to see a really overworked coordinator, they're filing pages from other studies in your study.
Yeah, that's
I've
happened.
seen that. Yeah, I've seen that more often than not. So that's another sign. Slide 11. There's a fair amount of slides this time, guys. Just buckle up.
Well, halfway through.
Investigator site file needs attention. That's another giveaway. Now, how do you know, Chris, if a coordinator is truly overworked or if they're just lazy?
Good question. And I think oftentimes you won't know that.
Because the lazy ones will tend to tell you they're overworked, even if they're not.
Sure. I think if you're there on site and every time you go into, because you'll interact with the coordinator often as a CRA, and every time you go to interact with that coordinator, you see them on Facebook or Twitter, something of this nature, you can kind of guess they're probably not that overworked.
Posting selfies on Instagram?
Yeah, that's probably a giveaway that they're not overworked.
Yeah, so you got to be a little bit of a detective there.
Yeah, and conversely, if every time you go to their office, they're off, in the lab or in the drug room or just constantly busy and you just can't get a moment with them, that's probably a good indicator that they are maybe possibly overworked or at least very busy.
Right. And if you're a CRA and you discover this does require a conversation with the PI. And even before that, it would require a conversation with the coordinator, because you don't want to go behind the coordinator back and talk to the PI, maybe get them in trouble.
Yeah,
so
I would
that's
absolutely.
What I would do.
Yeah, I would absolutely, as a CRA, start by just saying what you've noticed. You seem very overworked, and I want to have a conversation with your PI to maybe help alleviate some of that for you. Just kind of get a feeling if that's going to cause a problem or not.
Right. Yeah, technical empathy and then maybe some mirroring too. Everybody go get that book. It's a must read. Investigator site file could have missing pages, unorganized, obviously things that are critical, like essential documents, like 1572 forms, IRB approvals, training logs, delegation logs. You need these things completed. One thing I see often that's incomplete is the informed consent log and the screening and enrollment log. So these are things that are important, and sometimes also a giveaway that the coordinator is either overworked or just not working very hard. One of those two. Or a combination. Combination of both is also possible.
Mm-hmm.
Slide 12. systematic issues. So if the patient charts or ISF have misfiled, incomplete, or missing a few documents, CRA should point it out. If the patient charts or ISF have many of these issues, the problem's systematic, which means that it's going to happen again, and it's kind of embedded into their workflow, which is not good, because if you find a mistake today, you're probably going to have mistakes in the future that are similar. And so these need to be addressed, and these are really the ones where you're going to have to talk to the coordinator and use your soft skills, and before it becomes an issue. So part of, like, the really good CRAs can solve problems before they become out of hand problems. So if you notice, at your first IMV, that the reg binder is just completely in disarray, or the source documentation is just not adequate, a good CRA will be able to use soft skills to convince the coordinator of this and to have them fix the issue. And if they don't, it becomes systematic, and now it's going to reflect poorly on the CRA as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of why it's like so stressful to be a CRA too. Nobody naturally, there's a few people that we've met, but most people naturally don't want confrontation. Like, they just want to do their job, go home, and that's it. Well, some of these things will require some confrontation or some uncomfortable discussions. And if you don't have that, it's going to reflect poorly on you as a CRA. So these soft skills, really, it's super important to have, and they don't teach this stuff at these CROs. Slide 13 is other signs. Do you want to go through this one, Chris? You could be like this detective guy here, looking for other signs.
Oh yeah, it looks
Inspector Gadget. Look like Inspector Gadget.
That's exactly what I was thinking. All right. Other signs. Other signs of an overworked coordinator can be seen on the EDC before the next interim monitoring visit, interim monitoring visits, through missing data or old queries unanswered. And absolutely, if though I don't know, less so. In my experience with the coordinators that I've worked with, even the ones that aren't too busy, these items mentioned here seem to be items that they fall behind on, even when they're not over. Answering queries, and EDC just seems to be kind of out of mind, right? Once they've entered the data, at least in my experience, once they've entered the data for the visit, they don't go back and resolve issues, not all of them, unless they're being kind of pestered by the CRA to do so. I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah. I mean, these things, it's hard to tell. These are just regular coordinator stuff, if they're truly overworked. I like to walk around the office when I'm a monitor, if I'm allowed to, and go see for myself. Like, not to be nosy, but if I need the coordinator, I'll go walk to their office, and then I can observe, are they having casual conversations with their coworkers about lunch? Are they always at lunch? Or are they truly in, like, patient rooms doing vital signs with a patient, or on the phone trying to pre-screen someone? I mean, you can tell. You don't even need to be like this detective on the slide. You don't need a magnifying glass. You just walk around like a normal person and observe. So it's a tough call sometimes to make it, but the conversations need to happen. Now, slide 14, we're going to start talking about the PIs, right, and the principal investigator, because I think it's a little more obvious with the PIs than with the coordinators. I think so. I think it's more black and white with them.
Okay.
The PI is not available. I don't know how many times CRAs hear this, right, in a given week. But PIs are busy. I mean, most of the time, PIs truly are busy. Now, whether they have sufficient oversight of the study is a whole other issue. But the lack of PI oversight is super important from the FDA's perspective. And it's the major finding. It could come in many forms, but these include missing signatures, missing progress notes, lab reports that are not reviewed. Really, you should have a touch point with your PI every monitoring visit You can't meet in person, at least by phone. And you can tell if you have a 15-minute conversation with a PI, whether they are aware of what's going on in their study or they're not aware, right? I mean, you can tell. The biggest sign is whether the PI has enough time to dedicate to the study, which may not really become obvious until like IMV 3 or 4, or maybe when the site really gets busy on enrollment. And we have more to say about this on slide 16.
Hey, I've had conversations with PIs that really have no clue about the study, like truly clueless. They may not even know the drug or its purpose.
That's pretty bad.
Happens.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, so if you can tell and you're not the monitor, you're just like a consultant, right?
Yep.
Imagine being the monitor. So this is a difficult conversation to have with the PI. Again, soft skills. If you discover this as a CRA, you need to have a conversation with your PI and say, look, I understand. I mean, I respect doctors so much. I know how busy you are. You guys do such important work. Again, the tactical empathy. But then show them, the bad side of this. Like, hey, the FDA's biggest finding is lack of oversight, so it would help if you can do this, this, and that. Basically, get them to say that's right. Get those magic words, and then now it's their idea. Once they say that's right, it becomes their idea.
We've got a couple of questions about PI oversight.
Sure, we do. Maybe from some PIs that you're talking about.
No, I don't think there's any PIs here, but so we can say that as CRAs we need to audit PI and CROs. So they're asking, can you call for an audit as a CRA?
Yes, but I would use your soft skills first to avoid that.
And then the next one, if it's identified that a PI does not have enough time, you will report that to the sponsor or CRO.
You would put that in your monitoring report. But again, try to solve the issue first by talking to the PI.
Yeah, my opinion is everybody gets at least one chance. So if you find something wrong at the site, and regardless of what it might be, I would try and help the site out first, just because you want a good working relationship with the site. Makes your job much easier. If they don't view you as an enemy. So you try and work whatever the problems are out with the site first, and you can word your report in such a way that it doesn't look nearly as bad.
And remember, if you're a CRA, you're monitoring your reports. They don't get seen by the site. So you want to cover your own backside. You want to document in your report, CRA potentially observed an instance of lack of PI oversight, and then put the specific example, and then also include CRA had a discussion with PI understood, and will rectify prior to next IMV. I mean, you want to put details in there. Remember, the site's not going to see that, but the sponsor will. And so if it does turn out to be an issue, you have a documentation that you are aware of it, that you're doing something about it.
Yep, and you made your employer aware of it.
Yeah. PI doesn't have time for study. Other red flags. Somebody in the CRA Academy asked what the red flags this last weekend. Tiffany had to explain a red flag. Maybe in the other countries this is not a phrase that's often used.
Yeah, I saw that in good news text.
Yeah, red flag is a warning, basically. So red flags to look for include when the PI has trouble meeting with the CRA. This is true. Or if the PI has too many studies. Sometimes study staff will inadvertently disclose that the PI has trouble giving attention to studies. So, yeah, they will. And then we're getting to the next slide of key opinion leaders. Every CRA's favorite type of site to monitor. And I'm being sarcastic a little bit. But key opinion leaders, KOLs, as they're often called, are often treated with higher priority, and I guess they're treated like VIPs by the sponsor, very important people. And this could be frustrating for CRAs because sometimes the PIs know this, and they know that whatever the CRA tells them doesn't really matter because the sponsor loves them. And if you're in a situation like this as a CRA, I don't think soft skills will really do much in this case. What I do think is you need to document your case in your reports. Key opinion leaders may be very important for the study. Maybe they're high enrollers, or maybe they're just look really good to include as one of the investigators for the study, either for other physicians or for the FDA. CRAs, you should be aware that these key opinion leaders may not have time for their studies. Now, some KOLs are very good PIs as well, but some are not, and they know that they can get away with it because unfortunately they can, because the sponsors really basically are telling the CRAs, just do what you can to make this an acceptable site, but we're not going to not continue to give them studies. We're not going to put them on a screening hold. Obviously, unless the PI does something really bad, like fraud, but if it's just poor data or lack of oversight, unfortunately, these KOLs get the pass, and oftentimes they know that. So it could be very frustrating as a CRA to be in these situations. And I don't know if soft skills actually would help at all. Possibly you can work with a coordinator and use some soft skills with them to kind of clean up the lack of oversight from the PI as much as you can. But at the end of the day, there's not much you can do here except document. But I feel for you. I have tactical empathy for you if you're in this situation.
Marjorie agrees with you. Marjorie Guzman says, document, document, document. Just remember to document with facts and do not add feelings to your reports.
That's right. That's right. Facts, exactly right. What can a CRA do? Slide 18, so we can go to slide 19. Well, like Marjorie said, document, right? But take initiative, try to work with the sites before notifying sponsors about their concerns. This is not just for KOLs now, this is for anything you notice at the site. Your job should be to try to prevent these situations from escalating. And so document as much as you can. At the end of the day, it's your job to kind of make sure the site is being compliant with all GCP and protocol-related matters. And then slide 20 is communicate. So CRA should, and this is the last slide, but it comes full circle now with the soft skills. I mean, what is soft skills? Really, it's communication. So CRA should first notify the PI about any signs of an overworked coordinator or lack of PI oversight. Again, like Marjorie said, you should document these in the monitoring report along with any resolutions. So what do you think about this, Chris? And let us know what other kind of questions people have in the background, in the chat room here.
So the most recent question is, the CRA documentation cannot be edited by a sponsor or CRO. So no, it's not going to be audited, or excuse me, it's not going to be edited by them specifically, but they'll ask you as the CRA to change your report.
Yeah,
Okay.
However, you got to be careful because sometimes the sponsor will take out something you wrote. And
we're not supposed to though, right?
Yeah, sometimes they will take it out when they finalize it. So you've got to keep your drafts. Keep your drafts of your reports.
If it has not been documented, it has not been done. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Well, that was a good presentation, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, you want to give them a quick rundown of our services, either for CRA, CRC Academy, or the consulting services?
Sure. So let's see, Marjorie has another comment. There have been instances that the sponsor will ask you to change your report. You have to stand by what you document. Usually when an audit happens, the first thing they look at is the CRA reports. Yep, completely agree. But I would also agree with what Dan said. If they insist on changing a report, and Marjorie, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, if the sponsor or CRO insists that your report is changed, I would agree with Dan, you want to show that that was an issue. You want to keep an audit trail of your report.
Yeah,
so that you can show that you were told to take this out, if that should arise.
Now, thankfully, most trial master file systems, ETMFs, will automatically keep your drafts in there, and there's really strict rules around the audit trail, so auditors will know if things were removed. So usually your drafts are kept in ETMF, but if you would just want to have, if you're a CRA, you want to have a backup of these reports yourself as well, just in case.
Sophia asked, will they receive the presentation automatically?
What do you mean?
Will you send out a blast email with the presentation or a link to it or whatever?
Anyone who's registered will get the replay. Yep.
Okay. Then we have another question. Doesn't that compromise the integrity of the study?
To the contrary, you documenting things enhances the integrity of the study.
I think they're more referencing when you're asked to take things out. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Oh, most likely, yeah. I would say yes. I would say absolutely it does. And I would say absolutely sponsors have been known to do this.
All right, next, you can add a progress note report stating that the issue was resolved, like a performance improvement process. Exactly what I was going to, Angel. How does it help the study in the end? Yes, you want to keep an audit trail and any emails with a request. Always cover yourself. And Angel says, no, I'm referring to when asked to take things out. Yes, exactly. So yeah, yes, that will cause problems, potentially. So it depends, like what you're being asked to take out. If it's something, maybe it's repetitive, or maybe you're just adding way too much detail and it's just not necessary. Or maybe it's confusing. So that's why your reports are audited by your lead or whoever's responsible for that. For a few reasons. They want to make sure that it's clear what's being stated, what's being relayed as to what's going on at the site. So you are asked to make changes to your reports often. Now, are you being asked to remove something that is crucial, or are you just being asked to make it a little bit more clear or understandable or removing any problems?
Yeah, or sometimes they ask you to remove something because you misinterpreted the protocol incorrectly. I mean, maybe you said something's a deviation and it's actually not. So at the end of the day, the sponsor is called the sponsor for a reason. They're paying for the study.
Right.
You're the CRA, but if you really feel strongly about it, you need to keep your draft.
So it's not unusual, Angel, to be asked to change things in your report. And like Dan just said, oftentimes it's necessary. So if anybody's interested in learning more about being a CRA, we do offer a CRA class. It's a 3-month course, 12 weeks. There's a live webinar once a week, and then there's material that's covered each week in regards to becoming a CRA or what's involved in being a CRA. The time necessary to complete the course is approximately 5 hours a week, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And it's a great course. We've been doing this for, what, 6 years now?
6 years, yeah. And
6 years?
we just filled our August class, which is going to be the last class of 2020. It's completely full. So the next CRA Academy will be in January. But we do have CRC Academy going on every month. And the CRC Academy now offers an internship component as well. So, you know, CRC is usually a precursor to CRA. Somebody who's wanting to be a CRA, maybe CRC is a good option for them, especially now that it's a little lower price than the CRA Academy. And it also offers an internship. Not oncology internship like CRA, but it does offer an internship, a remote internship.
In my opinion, the best CRAs were once CRCs, so also consider that.
Oh, yeah.
And Marjorie says, wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, if you ever need your staff trained, we do like group discounts too.
And Marjorie agrees with what I said. That is so true.
So it's nice when people agree.
Of course. That's what you want. That's what our conversation was half the time for this today. Agreement.
Right.
All right, so let's see. Oh, we got more questions. I'm located in the UK. Can I also apply for a CRA Academy? What are the requirements? Whether you offer any internship in the UK? So, yes, you can take it from the UK. So the live webinar might be a little difficult for you. It's at 1 o'clock Pacific time. I don't know what that'd be where you're at, probably 12 hours later. So,
yeah.
1 in the morning.
They're at this time, so if you're on this thing...
Yeah, if you're on now, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
The requirements are you have to have at least a bachelor's degree. And yes, we do offer internship. It's remote internship for you in the UK. You're welcome to come to the United States, but you don't have to. There's a remote internship.
And international students get discounts. They don't pay the U.S. price.
Is there a link you can post for the academy? Yes, so we'll post it right now.
Yeah, we have CRA and CRC, and both can be done remotely. Both, I mean, they're all done remotely, no matter where you live. We've had students from Australia, from all over the world.
All right, so here's the CRA Academy. Oops. We're getting all kinds of questions now.
Oh, now they've got the questions. Good. We love questions, guys. CRC Academy. Why is this not coming up? Yeah, for those listening on the podcast, it's thecraacademy.com and thecrcacademy.com. Links are in the show notes. They're also underneath the video. But for those of you live, Chris is posting it now, so you can click on it live.
All right, so let's see. Okay, can I get a link to the website? Yep. So I posted both the CRA and CRC academies. Where would I find Canadian rates? Talk to Dan.
Yeah, Canadian rates are half. Any international is half of the price of the U.S. price.
Great, thanks. How long is the internship? As long as you would like. Most students either continue with the internship until they're hired or until they give up, one or the other. Most students don't give up. I mean, most get hired, but we have a few that have given up. So most people continue with the internship till one or the other.
Never give up, guys.
No, I don't know why you'd want to give up.
One of the most frequently observed traits in successful people is persistence.
There is no discounts for U.S. students, Angel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, U.S. Full price, and yeah, don't try to lie about where you live because we're gonna find out. You know, there is an internship component, and we'll know. But CRC Academy, I think Monica's giving out discounts if you ask nicely.
So
CRA we can't. CRA we actually can't. But CRC we can negotiate more. You can try your soft skills. How about this? Go get the book and try those soft skills on Monica, and then let me know how it works.
yeah, get the Chris Voss book and convince Monica.
Never split the difference. Yeah, never split the difference.
Monica's who you'll be talking with in regards to the CRC Academy. So use what you learn in that book to get a discount with Monica.
Yeah, if you want to introduce, you can email me, and then I'll put you in touch. What other questions do we have? More questions? People are interested.
No, I think that's it. I think I got everybody's question.
We also have services where you can help you get studies for your site. So just text me 949-415-6256 if interested in that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this very last day of August. This year can't end soon enough. 2020.
Maybe we can go back to some normal times.
Yep.
2021, normal.
Everybody can use, the whole world can use tactical empathy right now.
Best decade ever, guys. Really?
You must be a, what's the word for it? Masochist.
Bye, Angel. Thank you. Go Niners, somebody says.
Oh, go Niners. I 100% agree with you.
I completely disagree, but that's okay.
Go Niners. We might have Super Bowl.
All right. So I guess we're done. And for those that only attend once a month, we'll see you in a month.
See you in a month, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Everybody have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.